Liquid Trucking, what's good out there? Welcome into episode 29 of the Liquid Trucking Podcast. I'm your host, Marcus. As always, we know that's not going to change. You want to talk about consistency. I mean, I don't like to pat myself on the back too many times during each episode. I like to make room for at least once. But I will say, consistency is gold in the podcast industry, and so far so good, man. Episode 29, no hiccups yet. In fact, I would dare to say that we're having a very, very good first 29 episodes, creeping on 30 here. We won't really celebrate until we get to like the 50 area. It's weird, because do we celebrate 50 as that milestone, nice round number, or do we celebrate 52 as a full year's worth of weekly episodes? I don't know. Maybe you tell me. Podcast at liquidtrucking.com. And what should we do? You want to have some type of special blowout for the birthday of the podcast after the first year? We'll do something special on the air. We'll get a bunch of you drivers on. We'll get a bunch of the guys from the office on. We'll really, we'll have a party in here if we want to. So be thinking about that. We got 22 weeks, 23 weeks until that rolls around. But, just a quick note on the consistency. Feel really good about it. Really excited about all of the ideas that I get from you guys. There's a bunch of you drivers out there that text me almost daily. I get texts from Liquid Drivers, whether they're commenting on the podcast, sharing recipes with me, sharing pictures of places they've been. I got a picture from Matt McKellar the other day from Ireland. Now, it should be noted, he didn't just send that to me out of the kindness of his heart. Dude's on vacation. I wouldn't want him to do that. But I did bug him because I didn't know he was on vacation. I was trying to get him on the podcast. Sent me a great picture of him and his daughter at just a beautiful location outdoors, someplace in Ireland, living it up. I love it. If you've got my number, you think that type of stuff is something you want to send me, come on, send it along, man. I'll tell you right now, because of Alex Shevchuk, I'm a healthier human being. He's sent me so many good, like, immune boosting and just healthy recipes to try. And, I've also got my boys Tony Brown, Mike Stanfield out there, Polar Bear hooking it up. You guys are all awesome. I appreciate you every single minute of this podcast, and well beyond that when I get to talk to you when we're not on the air. So keep that stuff coming. And if you're not one of the guys that is texting me all the time, but you want to be, you've got some stuff you think I'd like to see, get my number from one of those guys that I just mentioned. There's a ton of you out there that have my phone number, and right to the pocket, brother. So, hit me up whenever you can. And once again, you can also email me when you're pulled over for your 10s or your 34s if you want to. That is podcast at liquidtrucking.com. So, on to the nuts and the bolts, or maybe we would say the gaskets and the hoses since we're doing tanking here. But this episode is important for a very important reason. We're going to talk about open enrollment today because your open enrollment season, I guess, if you want to call it that, is coming up very shortly. I'm going to have Jason Eisenman on. We're going to talk about everything that you need to know about the current open enrollment environment that's going to be smacking you in the face as this podcast airs. So make sure you're paying attention here to this first part. Jason covers a lot of really good information, and I will try to approach this as somebody that has no idea. So hopefully, whether you are real familiar with Paycor and everything is running through your head, you know exactly what to do, or you have no experience with it and you're really going to need some help, this next segment that I've got Jason on is going to help you out. And later on in the show, I've got an awesome segment that I'm really excited about. And I think I might even make it a recurring segment because I only got to get 3 drivers on this time, and I think there's a lot more of you that would like to pour your recommendations on me. So this segment that we'll do after we talk to Jason is called Recommended for Drivers by Drivers, and I opened it up wide. I told the drivers, anything you want. What do you want to recommend? It can be anything as long as it's podcast appropriate. And based on the content of the past 28 episodes, that gives us a pretty wide berth. So we'll get to that towards the end of the episode. Make sure you stay tuned for it. But first, we're talking open enrollment, VP of HR and safety.
Welcome to the gold standard of podcasts for the gold standard of drivers. This is the Liquid Trucking Podcast with your host, Marcus Bridges.
Next up here on the Liquid Trucking Podcast, I'm joined by my honorary co-host. Always great to have you in. It's VP of HR and Safety at Liquid Trucking, Jason Eisenman. Jason, thanks for being here.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me back. Always good to be on the show with everybody.
Hey, you're getting real dang good at it now, my friend. You've been on this show with us a lot, and we appreciate every second that we've got to share with you here. This week's episode might not be the most exciting thing in the world, but it's very important information because we got open enrollment coming up here pretty quick, just around the corner, right, Jason?
Yep, I'm glad you brought it up. So Liquid Trucking is a bit of a different company than most. Most companies, you think of open enrollment, it's at the end of December, and your new benefits take effect on January 1st, but we are different in that regard. Our open enrollment is in June each year, and those changes take effect on July 1st. So our official open enrollment period this year is going to be June 3rd through Friday, June 14th. In addition to that, this is what we like to call kind of an easy year. There's two types of open enrollment, and this is just kind of an informational for everybody. About every 2 to 3 years, we do what's called an active open enrollment, which means every employee that has some sort of benefit has to take an action and reelect those benefits. But that's not the case this year. This year is what we call a passive open enrollment, which means all the benefits that you have in place will stay in place if you do nothing. This open enrollment that they call passive is for those that want to make a change if you want to. So if you are happy with what you have, you can do nothing and just continue on. And that's why we call it kind of an easy year. Some things about the difference of the two, just for anybody that's kind of wanting to know, is during those active enrollment years where we force everybody to take an action, that helps clean up like dependent information, new children that are born or adopted, addresses change, email addresses change, phone numbers change. If you think about 2-3 years of life, a lot of stuff changes. So if that sounds like you know, even though this is a passive enrollment year and you got something that's changed, this would be a good opportunity to go into your Paycor app and navigate to the benefits section between those dates of June 3rd and June 14th. You'll have a little blue button that says begin enrollment, and it'll let you review those, every benefit one by one. And if there's any information you wanted to update, you could do that. If you don't have anything to update and everything's good and you don't want to change your benefits, then you get to sit this year out. Just let it roll.
Awesome. Well, fingers crossed that a lot of the drivers have everything right where they need it. But I did want to just bring up a hypothetical situation for you here just to make sure that I kind of understand what you're saying about, kind of an easy year. Let's say I love my benefits. I haven't had any more kids. Nothing needs to change, but I got a P.O. box now instead of a physical address. I need to go in and click that blue button that you're talking about and re-enroll for everything, or basically I can go in and click the button and just change the address and click OK and everything else stays the same.
Yes, you're partially right. You're going to start that enrollment process, and the first screen that you come to, it is like your information, your demographics. So you're going to update that screen. Then you're just going to click through the rest of the screens and confirm them and hit submit at the end. So if you had something, let's say, right kind of in the middle of it all, would be something like life insurance. If everything was good, but you want to look at your life insurance, you could just continue to click through everything till you get to life insurance, make some changes, click on through to the end and hit submit.
That's nice. I'm glad to hear that Paycor's got kind of an easy system like that. So even if it's not quote unquote an easy year for you and you do have to make updates, it still sounds like the process to make those updates, no matter how small, is pretty simple and won't take a lot of time out of your day.
That's the hope, but like everything technology, and all the drivers will be they'll be the first to tell you, whether it's password resets or remembering your username. But, we're here to help. You can stop in, You could call. Email is a good one. benefits@liquidtrucking.com is always a good one. That way it lets anybody that's free right away, because there's multiple people that monitor that email box. So, if you're trying to reach out to one of us and we might be busy, but an email gets it to 3 or 4 people right away, and the right person that's free could get a hold of you quicker. A couple other things to talk about open enrollment time is we have a lot of information we're going to be putting out. You haven't seen it yet, but you're going to want to watch the daily text messaging. You'll want to watch the Paycor news section. We're going to be putting out several videos, and these videos are for information only. If you're one of those people that want to make a change, maybe you've never watched these detailed videos before, and after you click on one of those links and watch them, it might spur you to go in and make a change that you might not otherwise had thought of. We'll have links to the benefit guide in there, as well as all of our phone numbers and emails, if you don't remember it from this episode, on how to ask questions or get a hold of us.
Perfect. Well, I can totally see how with something this important, a driver's first instinct would be, I need to call so that I can get this taken care of right away and so that there's no confusion. But it does sound like maybe it'd be a little bit quicker for them to use that email address, benefits@liquidtrucking.com, rather than a phone call on this one, just because there could be somebody that checks that email that's available right away, where as a phone call, you might have to wait for a few hours and get a call back, and who knows what's going to happen in that time. So use that email. Once again, benefits@liquidtrucking.com, and somebody will get in touch with you. And keep an eye on the phone there, because I know you guys, I've actually learned a little bit about your texting application that you guys use here over the last couple of days. Paycor News is a good place to stay. Like you said, look for some videos informationally. About how long are we talking with these videos, Jason?
So the way that we set this video up is it's a product through Brainshark, and the video has little clickable titles on the left side. So you're gonna click the link to get to the video, but then once you open it, on the left side there's going to be a navigation panel, because the video in its entirety is close to 40 minutes long. But let's say you're just wanting to learn about life insurance or short-term disability or long-term disability. Along that left-hand side of the video, you're going to be able to click from segment to segment and only watch the 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 minutes about that specific product, because we know that everybody's not going to want to sit and watch the whole video in its entirety. But if that's you, and you need to watch it all, that's okay too. That's why we put it out there. We put a lot of work into it with all of our benefit vendor partners, so that we could get as much information to everybody in advance that they could watch or listen to, because it's all audio, and the video is the same thing that you're hearing, knowing that you guys are going down the road, and it might be something really good for you just to listen to.
There you go. So after you listen to this week's episode and podcast, no, I'm just kidding around, Jason. This is more important. You should definitely listen to this first. And as much as we bag on technology from time to time, how cool that you guys have an interactive video that's coming out that will allow people to easily skip around and omit the information that they don't need. I feel like that's a great way to make sure more people get their hands in this and go in and get the questions answered that they have, specifically to whatever, life insurance, like you said, short-term disability, dependents, anything like that. I love a good interactive informational video. Give me a little bit of control out there so I can learn at my own pace and about the things I want to.
Yeah, and to add to that, please share, speaking to the drivers, please share this information with your spouses if you have that. The video links and the benefit guide links are easy to copy and paste, and maybe text to the spouse at home. Have them look at it, because we do talk a lot with the families of our drivers. They're welcome to send us an email with a question as well. But if you were to pass those links along, that would be great. It would also help them, maybe they need to make a change that, you don't know about, and that'll help get that done. Lastly, not to beat a dead horse, but one of the things we come across, which is kind of a downer topic, but it happens for everybody, is death. Well, making sure if you have life insurance that you are updating your beneficiaries, who you're leaving those things to, is really important. This is a good time during open enrollment to check all your beneficiary information. That's part of it. So, it's just protecting your loved ones, if and when that event happens. So it's a good reminder.
Absolutely. I've heard some what I will call genuine horror stories of people forgetting to change their beneficiaries, and having an ex-girlfriend or an ex-husband or somebody that you're estranged with listed as the beneficiary on your life insurance policy is not the way you want to go out. So it's a really good idea to just take a second look at this stuff. And, that's why we spend some time here on the podcast. It might not be for every single person, but there will be some people in the fleet that need to just at least look it over. And it's a really good idea to do this. It's especially a good idea to do it on a passive year. Because, there's a chance that maybe nothing needs to change and you can just go on about your day, but at least you don't have to live with the stress of not knowing. And it's a short window is another reason why we're bringing this up. You've only got between June 3rd and June 11th, June 14th to do this stuff. So 11 days, if I'm correct.
Yeah, basically 2 full business weeks. So you got in the passive years, in the past, it is a pretty low activity. Not a lot of people make changes, but we're trying to do better on our side as a company to engage more people into thinking about all those small things in life that we mentioned with beneficiaries, dependents, contact information, mailing addresses, because that's really where the small details count when mail is missed or, the updates or statements. So I appreciate everybody, taking the time to check out all the videos and the benefit guides and ask questions, and we'll get through it like always.
Absolutely. And before I let you go, I've just been taking notes while you've been talking, so let's summarize it all here. Open enrollment, it's going to be from June 3rd to June 14th. This is a passive year, so you don't need to do anything if your benefits are where you want them and you don't need to change any of your personal or contact information. If you do want to make a change, you've got that 11-day window to use. You can clean up any info in Paycor, use the blue button to begin your enrollment, change the things you need to, click through and submit that. And also keep your eye out for a bunch of info from the company on the way. Watch your text messages, check out Paycor News, and keep an eye out for these videos and also links to the benefit guide. Did I pretty much cover it all there, Jason? Is that at least like an 8 out of 10 summary?
8 out of 10 is pretty good. I would add one small detail. When you're in your Paycor mobile app or logged in from a desktop, the first thing you want to do is navigate to the benefits section. And once you're there, during that open enrollment period, you'll see a button, I believe it is blue, on the top left that says begin or start your enrollment. And that's where it'll walk you through all the windows where you could confirm or change things.
And now it's a 10 out of 10 summary, which is exactly why we bring VP of HR and Safety on, Jason Eisenman. We appreciate the time, my friend. Thank you so much. Keep your head covered up out there. I know you got some tornado warnings in the area. We're always pulling for you here on the West Coast when those things start touching down in the Midwest.
For sure. Talk soon.
Bye, Jason. Joining me now here on the Liquid Trucking Podcast is Liquid Driver Alex Shevchuk. Alex, we always appreciate the time we get with you on the podcast. I understand you're busy today. Thank you so much for being here.
No problem, Marcus. Always a pleasure.
Now, one of the reasons that I wanted to get you on this particular episode is you're constantly texting me things that, mostly it's food with you and I, because we've well established on this podcast that I love my food. And I've encouraged you guys to send me recipes and things like that so I can try them from home. But you've also told me that you've got a few emergency supplies to recommend here. And that's what this whole segment is going to be about. I'm going to bring in a lot of drivers. We're going to talk about what drivers recommend for drivers. And before we get to all the delicious recipes or the recipe that you brought us today, Alex, I want to concentrate on the emergency supply kit that you run with in your cab. Tell me about it.
Yeah, the most important thing that I realized over couple years with Liquid, and some of them drivers they share with me, and specifically at the one day I saw they have it, and I asked the other driver, you should have in your cab vinegar, so you can mix this thing half and half, however you like. You can keep it for cleaning supplies, you can wash your dishes, or simply sanitize your hands. But if you get spilled chemical on your face, just in case, if you have the liquid in your hand, water, half a water, half a vinegar, you can just simply wash your face and that designate the chemical reaction on your face, and technically save you from emergency hospitalized and designate the chemicals reaction on your face, eyes, or hands. So that's a number one handy thing that you could have in the truck. Then I run sanitizer, I run a lot of water, and I also run in today. Just have that kit in hand as a emergency kit, and I'll share really simple thing that where you can steal that thing. So I used to deliver sand, and I run into sand pits, so they constantly expire supplies, and you can ask those guys simply, hey, do you have a spare kit? They give me a full box, metal box. It's like a military grade box. You can lock it in your bandages. You can update your kit, grab it, even if it's expired. But that box is really important that you can have it on the road trip, heat it up. You're not going to do anything to that. And you can have some emergency things that you can just apply it to yourself instead of going to the doctor. Today I was running around trailer, got really good scar, wind raised it up, put a sanitizer, whatever the spray is, it disinfected and whatever. It's really handy. And then I put the Band-Aid on it, and here you go. You just save yourself from getting infected and everything else. So those two or a couple things that I mentioned, the vinegar, water, will save you for the chemical reaction, and emergency kit, bandages, and all other things you can just, whatever you think you need to have it with you. That's really handy on board for the truckers.
Sure. And you can't over prepare, it doesn't seem like, Alex. Anything that you think you might need, and if you have room for it, go ahead and take it along, because you never want to need it and not have it. And I'll give you a tip here, comes from my former time as a detail boy at a Chevrolet dealership. You can also take some of that vinegar that you've got and mix it half and half with isopropyl alcohol, and it will just rinse bugs off of your windshield or off of your bumper or off of your lights when they've been really baked on in the sun. Vinegar and alcohol will take them right off. Don't leave it on there for too long. Get it on there and rinse it off, but not really so much of an emergency if you have bugs on your windshield, Alex, but the vinegar will help with that.
Wow, that's a good idea. I had never thought about it.
Yeah, a little spray bottle with vinegar and alcohol works great for bugs. But fantastic stuff that you got there. What about food from an emergency standpoint, Alex? Do you have any emergency food that you don't touch, that you pack along with you just in case you get stuck somewhere and aren't able to get to a store or a restaurant?
Yeah, I usually try to get when I prepare a meal of barley soup or barley itself, along with salads and everything. I try to get grill out, ready prepared stuff in the fridge somewhere in our frozen department. That way I can run out a meal. Yesterday I run out, so I put it in there and it's ready to go. You just boil the water, and then it'll be another meal ready to go. Then I researched it yesterday. You could have with you some moonlight shelf energy bars. You can have lots of water in the truck. That's important. The summer coming up right now. And
Absolutely.
you can have, there's 2 more or 4 more things that I just sent you on the text message, which is remedy both your immune system is garlic, lemon, ginger, and honey. Those 4 combined components, you should have it in your truck.
Sure. That's great. Well, that I want to try that garlic, ginger, honey, and lemon. Doesn't sound like it's going to taste great, but it sounds like a real immune booster there. And Alex, I know that you're running up here. They're taking care of your load for you, so you're going to be back on the air or back on the road soon here. I want to give you an opportunity. Is that the last thing that you brought us, or do you have anything else before we let you go?
So I brought with me pomegranate, real fruit pomegranate. So it works great for me. When I fell dizzy kind of on the road trip and everything, so it decided out there helped me out to get back on the way. So the pomegranate give you a little source of energy and boost. So.
And they give you something to do during your downtime because they're not the easiest thing to open. Sometimes you got to pick at those things for a little bit, right?
Yep.
Perfect. All right. So pomegranate, garlic, ginger, honey, and lemon. And if you bring those four things from that tonic that you said, garlic, ginger, honey, lemon, man, you get a little salt and pepper, you're set up to cook in the cab. That's all. You got your seasonings right there. You'd be good to go.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, Alex, this has been great. Is there anything else that you take with you or that you would recommend to other drivers at Liquid or elsewhere you think is a good idea to bring along?
That was it. That's what I have. I want to listen what the other drivers will have, and we'll share experience with each other. So.
Awesome. Well, I love to hear that, Alex. Thank you for sharing your time with us today. Like I said, I know you're busy. We did this in a real tight window. I can't thank you enough for coming on here and bringing some recommendations along.
No problem. Thank you for always have me on the podcast. I really love it.
No problem. That's Alex Shevchuk, Liquid Driver. Stay safe out there, all right?
Thank you. Bye.
Next up for our roster of recommending drivers here, I've got Liquid driver Drew Hearn on the horn. Drew, where are you at? Where are you headed today?
Well, right now I'm in Henrietta, Oklahoma, heading down to McKinney, Texas. Yeah, McKinney, Texas, north side of Dallas.
Okay, so you don't have to get all the way into Dallas.
No, thank God.
Well, I know that it's probably getting kind of scorching hot out there in that area this time of year, isn't it?
Well, my truck could say it's 78 degrees where I'm at right now. I got out a little bit ago for my 30, and it wasn't too bad. It was a little warm, but 78 is still pretty nice.
Well, enjoy that area while it's only 78 because hell's coming. We're only just a couple of weeks away.
It already has in Iowa, man. Let me tell you, hell broke loose in Iowa yesterday. So
they get hit with some tornadoes and stuff up there?
Oh, yeah, some nice ones, too.
Dude, it's not for me, man. I've told this story before. We've had one tornado hit the state of Oregon since I've lived in it for 40 years, and it tore apart this little town called Almsville, and it was tragic. But that was like a huge deal. I remember that being like the whole state's going to come together and help the little town of Almsville. How on earth do you guys put up with them when these things are zinging through every third Tuesday? Like, I just don't get it.
Hey, it just comes with the territory, you know what you're getting into when you move to the Midwest. So it's just one thing that you hope and pray that the storm goes over you. And if it doesn't, well, then
hold on.
Like my grandpa always used. Yeah, hold on. Well, my grandpa used to tell me all the time. He's all like, well, might as well bend over and kiss your ass goodbye.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Right. But like how they did, how Oregon did with that town, that's it. Same thing down here. It's like pretty much everywhere around the surrounding area comes in and helps. Elkhorn just got hit a couple weeks ago with a pretty nasty tornado, and then the town in Iowa just got hit, and they had to tell people to stay out of the town because there was people from all over coming in just trying to help, and they're like, hey, stay out of here until, we can make sure everyone's okay and, we can clear some stuff up.
Sure. So it's like almost like a summer thing that happens in the Midwest. You just know you're going to donate some of your time to picking up someone's belongings from 5 miles away from where they originated.
Oh, definitely. Well, the town I'm from, we had, we're an hour north of Omaha, and we had stuff from Elkhorn in our town.
Wow.
just like pictures and, people's personal belongings laying out in the field. So, I mean, stuff carries in the storm. So, I mean, it goes pretty far.
Yeah. Well, all right. Well, I'm sweating enough for this segment. Let's go ahead and get away from the storm talk before I have to go and take a break to catch my breath. Because as I said, it terrifies me. Like, I can't, even just listening to you talk about there being somebody's belongings from an hour south, like, it doesn't make sense to me. I can't comprehend it. So let's move on. What do you say?
Oh yeah, for sure. But just so you know, I'm gonna ruin your day today here just a little bit. So
That's
just buckle up and hold on for it.
I mean, it can't get ruined any more than hearing about the poor town of Elkhart. So let's go ahead and get into it. We're talking about driver recommendations today. And I asked you with pretty much, we had a couple of text messages. It was real cut and dry. I said, recommend for other drivers anything under the sun that you want. It can be entertainment. It can be parking spots. It can be restaurants, places to stop. We've already had driver Alex Shevchuk on. He brought a bunch of recommendations for emergency supplies to carry along on the truck. I just can't see how you're going to break my heart here, Drew. Whatever you brought's going to be okay with me, unless you brought nothing. Did you bring nothing?
Oh no, I got some stuff, I got one that's gonna tear your heart when it comes to food. So,
okay.
Especially after the podcast with Tony Brown and his bacon wrapped corn cob.
Oh yeah.
You're gonna rethink that thought real quick.
Okay. Well, start. What do you got for me first?
So entertainment wise, everything. I listen to a lot of podcasts, and some of the better ones I've actually recommended to you to listen to a couple episodes. Like the Sean Ryan show.
Yep.
He's ex-military, and he does a lot of talk shows with military personnel and just really cool, down to earth people that got like amazing things going on. And that's a really good podcast if you want to know like kind of really what's going on in the real world. So I really enjoy listening to that one.
And then you suggested a couple episodes to me, and I've actually started to listen to both of them. I haven't finished either one of them yet, but you want to talk about bone-chilling and hair-raising stories that some of these guys that he has on that are also ex-military will tell? Man, it's hard to sit still sometimes to listen to what some of those guys went through. Really good.
It is.
Really good.
Yeah, it is. I like to know a whole lot of what's going on, in the world and the government and everything. So I also listen to the Dan Bongino show and Real AF with D&D Frisella. And they're real clean cut, kind of down the middle. They're not real left or right. Just, what's good for the people. And they get to the point. They don't bullshit you around like, some of the people up on the hill will,
Absolutely.
So,
some of those podcasts that kind of make you think a little bit.
Oh, yeah, definitely. So, I really listen to them. And then I just got into this one called Mr. Phelan, and he does like real creepy, kind of scary stories, but they're all based on real events or events that are from another person's perspective.
Oh, okay.
So, like, if someone experienced it, it's their own personal experience. They just told, what their experience was. And that's kind of what that one's about. I just got into that one today. When you called, I was actually listening to one of them, and that one's kind of pretty creepy. I know he does some clips on Facebook and TikTok. They're pretty cool. And then one of my all-time favorite ones is the Joe Rogan Experience. That's just a good podcast all around, and that's actually gonna kind of lead into where I'm gonna ruin your pork adventures that you enjoy so much.
My pork adventures?
Oh yeah, yeah. But let me tell you, man. Okay, so this whole pork thing, and this is just knowledge for anyone when it comes to like food and everything. I don't really recommend any kind of restaurants out on the road or anything, only because of like health issues, cross contamination, everything that goes on behind in the back, So like I bring all my own food and I cook all my own food in my truck, and I've actually learned from listening to people talk on podcasts and everything about going on this carnivore diet kind of thing, which I've been doing. And I eat a lot of, I pretty much eat steak, eggs, veggies every night.
Man,
So
that doesn't break my heart. That puts me to sleep nice and comfortable.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I used to bring out pork with me all the time, but then I started listening to a couple of these guys talk about pork, and we're going to go a little biology here, but there's a gene inside of us that's called the BRCA1 gene, and it surrounds every strand of our DNA, and its sole purpose is to block out parasites and pathogens from getting into our DNA to mutate it. And pork actually has a parasite in it that no matter how much you cook it, it will not die. So this parasite, it's inside of you. No matter if you got like the crispiest piece of bacon or the most burnt pork chop that you've ever eaten before, it's still inside there, this parasite. And it gets inside of you and it tries to get into the gaps between these BRCA1 genes to get to your DNA strands to mutate it. And in between these genes is a fluid with potassium and chloride, and it pretty much paralyzes the parasites so that way they can't get to your DNA strands.
Mm-hmm.
But if you eat a lot of pork, it can't keep up. So ultimately what could happen is that these parasites could get inside into your DNA and they can mutate it, and you could ultimately get cancer from eating pork.
Damn it. I was really hoping you were going to say you could become Pigman or something cool like that, but no, it's just going to be cancer.
Yes. Pork is me and the wife we're really moving away from pork because it's a very dirty animal. It's ridden with parasites and everything. And I just recently found out, like, so say you smoke like a pork butt on the grill, and you got some leftovers and you throw them in the fridge, pork never stops rotting. So even though you cooked it to whatever temperature, once it continues to rot. So overnight in the fridge or even in the freezer, it's rotting and these parasites are growing in there. And so, yeah, if anyone wants any kind of stay away foods, that's one of them to just pretty much stay away from is pork, because pork's not good for you.
I'm going to add another layer to you breaking my heart here with this pork talk, and that is I made pork fried rice last night, and I have some left over in the fridge right now, and I have to go throw it away because I won't be able to eat it after what you just told me.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Get rid of it. Stick to, your beef, turkey, chicken, and be real careful of your chicken, too, because we got that lab-grown chicken that they're trying to get into us and everything.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, and you got anyone that, has feeding chickens that you can buy from, buy straight from the farmer, man. Let me tell you.
Well, I think that's good advice for almost anything that you buy, your vegetables and everything like that, too. If you can get those from a smaller vendor or a farmer's market or something like that, you can almost guarantee they're always going to be cleaner than the ones that you can get. They came off of a giant rack at the store,
Oh, yeah, definitely, So that was kind of my heartbreaking moment because, me and the wife, we really love, we would go down to Kansas City to a barbecue place down there called Slaps, and they have some of the best pulled pork sandwiches I've ever had. But now listening to all these different guests on these different podcasts and everything talk about, things that are bad for you and everything, I kind of, I'm getting away from it. And my wife is kind of mad at me because listening to all these podcasts and everything, I have like this, I won't say like a massive amount, but a lot of useless knowledge just listening to this stuff. Here's something I'll throw at you. Did you know that sloths can stay underwater longer than dolphins?
How does that make any sense? Sloths don't even have a blowhole.
Yeah, they can hold their breath for 40 minutes, whereas dolphins have to come up for air about every 10 minutes.
And basically what you're saying is, unless there is a life or death situation where you are trapped underwater with a sloth that's trying to kill you and a dolphin that's also trying to kill you, this information means nothing to anyone.
Exactly, useless knowledge, and I'm okay with that because, you gotta keep the electricity firing in your brain.
Yep.
'Cause if you keep your brain young, you'll stay young, so.
So listen to some of Drew's podcasts, because not only are they compelling and some really good stuff that will keep you on the edge of your seat, but you might learn something that you can use as like trivia bar knowledge. You can win money off of people for this stuff. I mean, if I walked up to your token drunk at Bar X in Omaha, Nebraska today, and I said, which do you think can hold its breath underwater longer, a sloth or a dolphin, and put $10 on the table, I'm winning money off of those people all night long. Nobody's saying a sloth. Like, it's crazy.
Right. It is, and that's, yeah. So when it comes to the recommendation thing, I mean, because, you get bored out here on the road. So that's why the Liquid Trucking podcast really started amping up my podcast, listening to podcasts more. And it's way different than listening to just the radio and like the same songs and the same bands and everything. And, you get a little bit of knowledge out of it too. And you get to, hear about some people's crazy life stories and everything. So it's a little bit more entertaining to me anyway. So helps keep me awake while I'm driving, and so
that's great. It's different every day.
The podcast all the time. Oh yeah, definitely. So
yep,
I really enjoy doing that. Like I said though, I wouldn't recommend any restaurants or anything anymore because they're all junk, and they're not good for you. There was one that was really good. It was Ferris Truck Stop in Ferris, Missouri, and they were really good. They had like an open kitchen, so you got to see everything back there. They were really cheap on prices, big on portion sizes, but the old man that owned it retired and none of his family wanted to take it over, so they ended up bulldozing it and became a pilot.
Oh, perfect. God knows we all need more pilots in our lives, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So, that was one place, like when they were up and running, I'd be telling, anyone I talked to, like, hey man, go down there. They're really cool and they have really good food and everything. But yeah.
Now it's just a pea-covered parking lot.
Exactly, man. Let me tell you about that. Jeez. It's bad. It's a real thing.
All right, Drew. Well, hey, man, I really appreciate you coming on here with a load of recommendations for us. Check out those podcasts. I see something in what Drew's talking about where listening to something like the radio where it's the same songs, it's the same breaks, it's the same clock, you're always listening to the same thing. That doesn't pair up too well with something that's different all the time, like what you do. And so listening to a podcast that's always different will help your brain stay in that kind of always alert mode. You never know what's coming around the next corner. Kind of like you never know what's coming when you turn on me and the Liquid Trucking podcast. We could be talking about recommendations, or we could be discussing all of my pork problems that I just realized I have.
Exactly. And real quick before you let me go, promise it's real quick.
Okay.
If anyone is looking for like that's into like heavy rock or slightly a little bit metal music, a little bit melodic music, there's this band that I found. It's called Sleep Token.
Oh yeah.
And they are really hitting the spotlight right now, and they are a really good band. So if you're looking for, if you're tired of listening to all the mainstream stuff or whatever, I would definitely give them a listen because they're a pretty good band. So
yep, they are phenomenal musicians in that band. And I'll add one to you, or I'll add two bands to that list because it's kind of in the same genre, and I'm going to see them in just a couple of weeks up in Portland, and that is A Day to Remember and 4 Years Strong. If you haven't checked out those two bands and you like that type of music, a little more crunchy, but not all the way into the metal side of things, definitely check all three of those bands out because they're all pumping out great music right now.
Definitely.
Awesome. All right, Drew, keep the shiny side up. We'll get you back on here very soon. Thank you for all the great recommendations. And just be safe out there, brother.
All right, I appreciate it, brother. You have yourself a good one.
You too, Drew. Take care. Joining me next here on our recommended for drivers by drivers segment, I've got Liquid Trucking driver Jimmy Lindsay on the phone. Jimmy, thanks for being here today.
You bet. Thanks for having me.
Where's the route taking you to today?
Oh, I'm in Blair at Purac.
Okay, nice. Well, you really clutched up for me here, Jimmy. I kind of needed a last-minute guy to fill this spot, and you stepped up for me, so I really appreciate it. But let's go ahead and talk about some things that you might recommend for other drivers. I really made this one broad for you guys. Anything under the sun. What comes to mind if you were just going to make a recommendation to another Liquid driver?
Well, I would recommend my favorite fuel station. Would be Quick Star by far. It's like a grocery store, and you can basically get anything in there. I don't know. I just love that place. They got the biggest dessert buffet right before you check out. I don't know. I just love that place. I mean, if you're hungry, that's where I would go. But I mean, if you're on a diet, it's probably not the best place to go.
Yeah, especially dessert buffet at the checkout counter. That's an impulse buy for me every time, man.
It's just like insane amount of treats, man. And heck, they even have like little stands where you can try stuff.
Oh, okay, that's pretty cool.
Like you're walking through Walmart.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay, so
I like it.
Is this like a truck stop, or is it more of just a gas station, or like do they have truck parking there?
Quick Star, yeah, they've got it's a truck stop.
Oh, okay, very cool.
It's mid-size, but they've got like you can actually buy meats there, like steaks and hamburger, so it's kind of like a slash grocery store.
That's pretty cool. I've never seen, I don't know if they must not have those out here on the West Coast, or maybe I just haven't gotten lucky and driven by one yet. Is that more of a Midwest and South thing, or do they pretty much have them everywhere? I just haven't seen them.
Yeah, I think they're like Iowa and maybe Wisconsin.
Okay.
And I don't know what other states, but I don't know. They're nice.
Sure.
I like to hit them up. And then, I don't know, that's basically where I normally stop if I want to get something good to eat. As far as carrying stuff in the truck, I don't know, just I always carry a tool bag with assortment of tools, because you never know what you're going to need to fix on the road. I had to fix an airline on the trailer the other day. I mean, it's pretty easy. Just, cut off a little plastic tubing and then stick it back in where it was broken. Fixed it on my way, but caught that the other day and fixed that. It's like having to call somebody for a service call, when you're just cutting some tubing and sticking it back in. Quick connect.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Are you a pretty handy guy when it comes to that type of stuff? Are you always fixing things at home, or is that something that you'll do because I don't know, it saves time?
Yeah. Well, I've got a background with I worked on wind turbines. I went to school to work on both. So I'm kind of like a jack of all trades. So I always like to fix things. So I'm always curious on how things work. So.
Okay. Those wind turbines, man, those things, we've got a lot of those here along Interstate 84 on the Columbia River here, Idaho and Washington border, and I drive by them a lot. They are massive. Did you go all the way up to the top of those things? Did you work in the construction of them or the maintenance in them? That's really interesting.
I did operations and maintenance. So I went up top.
Dude.
Did all the stuff.
Okay, so what's more terrifying? Let's say Donner Pass in the middle of a deep freeze and blizzard, or climbing up to the top of a wind turbine like that?
Well, see, I don't know. It doesn't terrify me.
when, I don't know, I like the rush. So it doesn't, I mean, for me, I've never went over Donner Pass either. So
Okay.
I can't really speak to that, but I don't know. I feel like I do my best driving when the road conditions are not the best. So
Sure. Kind of helps you focus and dial in and really concentrate. Yeah.
Yeah, I can really dial in whenever I need to. So I don't know.
You know, I'm not towing 80,000 pounds behind me, so the consequence is a lot less. But I find during those really inclement road conditions that, it's a lot like I already had driver Drew Hearn mention turning the radio down so that you can find where you're going, that type of thing. I am the same way in really bad conditions. I'll be turning down whatever I'm listening to as if I need to listen to the road conditions out there. But really, I feel like it helps me focus on the task at hand.
Oh, 100%. A lot, yeah, when the weather gets bad out, I never run a radio or listen to tunes. I only do that when I'm just cruising and sunny out. There's only a few people on the road. When I get into a city, I always turn it down. There's too much traffic. You got to pay attention to too many things. So.
Sure. Be hard to back a trailer while listening to Slayer, I guess.
Yeah, right.
All right, Jimmy. Well, listen, I know that you're a busy guy out there. We appreciate you taking some time. Are there any other things you might recommend to drivers before I let you go, or anything else you want to say to any of the drivers that might be listening?
Well, good work out there. I mean, I feel like we're doing a good job.
I think you are. I mean, I come from a pretty biased seat here, but I think you guys are doing a great job.
All right. Well, I've seen a lot of bad drivers out there, but I feel like we're definitely some of the best.
I would agree with you. I would definitely agree with you, Jimmy. Well, thank you so much. Really appreciate the time. Stay safe out there and enjoy the upcoming nice weather. I hope it gives you a chance to roll down the window and cruise and listen to some tunes rather than white knuckling it through tornadoes and torrential downpours.
Right. Okay. Well, you take care too.
Thanks, Jimmy. Bye-bye. All right, Liquid Trucking, that wraps up episode 29 of the Liquid Trucking Podcast. Appreciate you all being here. You guys are crazy, man. I can't believe it every single week when we look at the participation that this podcast gets from you drivers out there. I kind of want to know, who are you telling about this podcast? Are you talking about it just to other drivers at truck stops? Are you telling your family and friends? Do you guys have like a poker club that you're getting to listen to? Because I got to tell you something, Liquid doesn't have as many employees as we get listens every single week, and I'm absolutely loving it. I could not thank you enough. I cannot be grateful enough for everybody's time that gets put into this podcast, man. I say it all the time. I know you guys are probably like, all right, stop beating the drum. But it's important to me because we couldn't do it without you guys. And a lot of the times I feel like I'm the dude that gets the credit. Let me tell you, it's not a bad gig to have. I do like that part of it, but I would also like it if in a perfect world, all the people that put all the hard work in got the credit that they have due. And that comes from Liquid employees, Jason over there at the terminal, of course, the Schmitz for putting together this amazing company so we can even have a podcast about it. Every single one of you drivers, you dispatchers, you driver managers, people in safety, it's been a pleasure. And I can't tell you how excited I am to break into the next 29 episodes. Not like this is some type of milestone for me, even though I've kind of made it feel like that on this episode. And that's my bad, I guess. It's got me feeling some sort of way. Okay, I'm gonna come on here and express my my emotions a little bit. I'll wear them right on my sleeve so you can hear them coming out of your speakers on your truck. And the drivers out there that are listening and spreading the word about this podcast and participating in this podcast. Even if you're not participating, if you're just clicking listen each week, and if I called you and you're like, hell no, I don't want to be on the podcast, that's awesome. You're more than pulling your weight. We appreciate you. If you've got something you want to hear, I really drive this point home because I don't feel like enough of you understand that I will turn one of your ideas into an episode. if we can make it happen. So email me, podcast@liquidtrucking.com. You can also get in touch with me by heading over to the website, liquidtrucking.com, and clicking the banner at the top of the page where it says learn more about the podcast. You'll see a picture of me there. And I'd also like to know, if you haven't seen me before and you do go look at that podcast picture, I want to know what you think. Because I did radio for 10 years, and for a lot of radio, there was never any video. We didn't really have a lot of pictures taken of us, and if we did, or they wanted us to like put our pictures on the side of the bus, we would always try to come up with like a funny picture or something like that didn't have us in it. So a lot of the people that listened to me in my early career had no idea what I looked like. And I think that might be the case for some of you drivers out there. Some of the funniest, descriptions of me from people that had never seen me before was one of them was 6'1", 125 pounds, and khakis. They made me into like a weak version of Jake from State Farm. I don't know why. Another guy told me he could have sworn I was like 400 pounds, just big. And he didn't give a reason for that. I don't know why. Maybe I sound like that. What do I sound like to you? Email me again, podcast@liquidtrucking.com. I'm wasting time at this point. Let's get out of here. Let you guys get back to work and stop worrying about what I've got going on over here in Central Oregon. We appreciate every single one of you out there. Please drive safe. Keep the shiny side up. We'll see you next week, Liquid Trucking.
Thanks for tuning in and being the gold standard of drivers on the road. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel and tune in next week for another episode of the Liquid Trucking Podcast.